The call from beyond. Captain Alina Reyes stood at the observation deck of Earth Orbital Station Delta, her eyes fixed on the blue marble below. 23 years in Earth's defense fleet had hardened her against most surprises, but the message that came through her neural interface made her breath catch. "Captain, we've detected something unusual." Lieutenant Mason's voice echoed inside her head. "You need to see this immediately." Reyes turned away from Earth and strode purposefully through the station's corridors. The neural implant guided her with floating blue arrows projected onto her vision, though she knew the way to the sensor lab by heart. When the doors slid open, she found her senior staff already gathered around the main holographic display. "Talk to me," she said simply. Dr. Vivian Chen, the station's chief xenolinguist, gestured to the pulsing waveform hovering in the center of the room. "It's a signal, Captain. Originated approximately 83 light-years from Earth and the Perseus Arm. It's repeating on a precise 12.4-second interval." "Natural phenomenon?" Reyes asked, though she already suspected the answer. "No chance," replied Commander Jackson, her XO. "The signal contains mathematical sequences, atomic structures, and what appears to be a language primer. Classic first contact protocol." "But we're not the ones making first contact," Reyes said slowly. "They are." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had been broadcasting signals into space for centuries, but this was different. This was deliberate communication aimed specifically at Earth. "We've decoded part of the message," Dr. Chen continued, her fingers dancing through the holographic interface. "It's a distress call from a civilization that calls themselves the Selenari. They're facing an extinction-level event and requesting immediate assistance." "Specifics?" Reyes asked. "Some kind of gravitational anomaly threatening their home system. Their technology is advanced, but they claim they lack the means to neutralize this threat." Command Admiral Koyama's face appeared on the main screen, his expression grave. "Captain Reyes, you and your senior staff are to report to Global Command immediately. The Security Council is convening an emergency session." 12 hours later, Captain Reyes stood before Earth's unified leadership in the cavernous United Earth Security Council chamber in Geneva. The heated debate had been raging for hours. "We can't ignore this," insisted Dr. Chen, who had been invited to present her findings. "If they have the technology to send this signal, they likely have knowledge worth saving, and if this anomaly is real, it could eventually threaten human space. It could be a trap." General Harris of the North American Alliance countered, his fist slamming against the table. "First contact, and they immediately want us to send our ships. We'd be fools. Or it could be the greatest opportunity in human history," responded the African Union representative, "to make an ally that could share knowledge beyond our understanding." Captain Reyes had remained silent, studying the translated portions of the message displayed on her tablet. Something about the Selenari's description of their world nagged at her. When the council chair finally called on her, she stood. "The Selenari come from a world without extremes," she began. "No violent storms, minimal tectonic activity, stable temperatures. Their message indicates they've contacted other species before us, yet none have responded. I believe I know why." She activated her own display, projecting images of Earth's harshest environments. Hurricane-battered coastlines, volcanic eruptions, lightning-split skies. Earth is what xenobiologists would call the death world: harsh, unpredictable, dangerous. We evolved to survive conditions that would kill most species. The Selenari need deathworlders. They need humans. A murmur spread through the chamber as Admiral Koyama stepped forward. "Then that's exactly what they'll get. I propose we assemble a specialized response fleet under Captain Reyes's command, not just for them, but to show the galaxy what humanity can do." The vote passed by a narrow margin, and Operation Distant Hope was born. The following weeks were a blur of preparation. The UEA's Tenacity, Earth's newest and most advanced deep space vessel, was designated as the mission flagship. Captain Rice personally selected her crew from the best specialists across Earth's defense and scientific communities. Dr. Chen joined as Chief Communications Officer. Commander Jackson would serve as XO. Dr. Marcus Wei, Earth's leading expert on gravitational physics, was pulled from his research lab in New Beijing. Security Chief Amara Okafor brought her extensive combat experience from the Mars Security Force. Chief Engineer Hikaru Tanaka came straight from the team that had designed the Tenacity's experimental FTL drive. In the ship's massive hangar, Engineer Tanaka oversaw the loading of specialized equipment, his experienced eyes scrutinizing every detail. "Nervous?" asked Dr. Wei, appearing beside him. "Terrified," Tanaka admitted with a small smile. "The new Alcubierre drive has only been tested unmanned. Now we're taking it 83 light-years. Why not send drones first?" Wei asked. "Why risk human lives?" Tanaka's expression hardened. "Because this isn't just about answering a distress call. It's about showing the galaxy what humans can do. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us daily. Storms, earthquakes, predators. Earth toughened us. Now that strength has purpose." 3 weeks later, the response fleet stood ready. The Tenacity as flagship, 3 combat frigates, 2 science vessels, and a medical ship. Thousands gathered to watch the launch, their faces showing a mixture of pride, fear, and hope. Admiral Koyama addressed the crews before departure, his voice broadcasting across all ships. "Today humanity reaches beyond our solar system not as conquerors but as saviors. The stars have called, and we have answered. Make Earth proud." As the massive engines of the Tenacity flared to life, Captain Rice took her place on the bridge, watching Earth grow smaller behind them. "Set course for the Selenary system," she ordered. "Let's show the universe what Deathworlders can do." The vast emptiness of interstellar space stretched before the human fleet as they ventured deeper into the unknown. The 7 ships moved in tight formation, their engines leaving faint blue trails in the darkness. On the bridge of the Tenacity, Captain Rice reviewed the star charts displayed on the main view screen. "Status report," she requested, her voice calm despite the tension that hung in the air. "All systems functioning at optimal levels," replied Navigator Singh. "The Alcubierre drive is stable at warp factor 4.2. Estimated arrival at the Selenary system in 12 days, 7 hours. Reyes nodded, satisfied. The experimental faster-than-light drive had performed better than expected, allowing the fleet to cover distances in days that would have taken centuries at sublight speeds. Still, the journey was taking its toll on the crew. Humans had never traveled this far from Earth before. In the science lab, Dr. Wei and Dr. Chen conducted daily briefings to prepare the crew for their first meeting with the Selenary. Based on the data in their transmission, Dr. Chen explained, they evolved in an environment with approximately 0.7 Earth gravity. Their physiology is adapted for efficiency, not durability. Their sensory organs are highly developed, but their skeletal structure would be considered fragile by human standards. Security Chief Okafor crossed her arms skeptically. "So they'd snap like twigs in our gravity." "That's exactly why they need us," Dr. Wei replied. "What's merely uncomfortable for humans would be deadly for them." Their entire evolution occurred without the environmental pressures that shaped humanity. The fleet had just passed the halfway point of their journey when the proximity alarms blared. Something was approaching at high speed. "All hands to battle stations," ordered Captain Reyes. "Defensive Formation Alpha." The unidentified object slowed as it approached, revealing itself to be a vessel twice the size of the Tenacity. Its design was unlike anything humans had seen before, all smooth curves and gleaming surfaces with pulsing lights that seemed to flow across its hull. "We're receiving a transmission," reported Dr. Chen. "It's not Selenary." A face appeared on the view screen, humanoid but distinctly alien, with emerald-scaled skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. "Human vessels, this is Overseer Vexillar of the Galactic Concord." The alien spoke in surprisingly good English. "You are far from your territory. State your purpose." Captain Reyes stepped forward. I am Captain Alina Reyes of the United Earth Fleet. We're responding to a distress signal from the Selenary. The alien's 4 eyes blinked in what humans could only interpret as shock. You traveled to face the void. Willingly? You answered the call. Of course we answered. Reyes replied, confused by the alien's reaction. They need help. Overseer Vexiller studied the humans with newfound interest. Fascinating. You must be the Deathworlders we've heard rumors about. No other spacefaring species would approach the anomaly consuming the Selenary system. Dr. Chen moved to stand beside her captain. You mean others received the distress call but ignored it? Not ignored, Vexiller corrected. Deemed suicidal. The gravitational anomaly they call the void consumes everything it touches. The Concord Council declared the Selenary a tragic but inevitable loss. The implications dawned on the human crew. They weren't just the first to answer. They were the only ones. Well, Captain Rice said, her jaw tightening, we haven't come 83 light years to turn back now. After sharing navigational data, the alien vessel prepared to depart. We wish you fortune, humans, Overseer Vexiller said, his tone suggesting he thought they would need more than fortune. If you survive, the Concorde would be interested in future discussions. As the alien ship disappeared into the darkness, Captain Reyes gathered her senior officers. We always knew this mission was dangerous, she said firmly. Now we know it's considered impossible. But that's what humans do best, the impossible. Dr. Chen smiled slightly. After all, we're Deathworlders. It's about time the galaxy learned what that really means. 4 days later, the human fleet emerged from FTL on the outskirts of the Selenary system. A collective gasp filled the bridge of the Tenacity. Before them hung a beautiful turquoise world, but nearly a third of its surface appeared consumed by a strange darkness that defied description. It wasn't merely black. It seemed to bend light around it, creating a visual distortion that hurt human eyes to observe directly. Sensors are having trouble reading it, Navigator Singh reported, adjusting his instruments. It's like looking at a hole in reality. So that's the void, Captain Rice said quietly. It's expanding, Dr. Wee noted, studying the scientific readings. Comparing it to the Selenary transmission, it's grown by nearly 20% since they sent their distress call. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the planet, announced Dr. Chen. A moment later, the view screen filled with the image of a Selenary. The alien was even more striking than the holographic projections had suggested. Standing over 2 meters tall, the being had a slender, almost delicate build. Its skin shimmered with a faint internal luminescence, and large, multifaceted eyes dominated its elongated face. Earth vessels. The Selenary spoke, its voice melodic and precise. I am High Counselor Ilara of the Selenary Accord. Your arrival brings hope we had nearly abandoned. Captain Reyes stepped forward. High Counselor, I am Captain Alina Reyes of the United Earth Fleet. We've come to offer assistance against the threat you call the Void. The alien's head tilted in what might have been surprise. You came in person. We expected perhaps technological guidance or remote assistance. To risk yourselves. That's how humans solve problems, Reyes replied simply. We show up. What Deathworlders do best. The shuttle descended through the Selenary atmosphere, carrying Captain Reyes and her senior staff to the surface. The lower gravity made the humans feel strangely buoyant, while the Selenary escorts watched in fascination as the visitors moved with what seemed to them incredible strength and speed. High Counselor Ilara led them into a grand crystalline structure at the heart of the capital city, far enough from the advancing void to be safe, at least for now. Other Selenary officials waited inside, their luminescent bodies creating a soft glow throughout the chamber. Forgive our astonishment, Ilara said as they settled around a circular table. In our communications with other species, none considered direct intervention. All deemed the risk too great. We've heard, Captain Reyes replied. Perhaps you could tell us more about this void and why you believe humans might succeed where others wouldn't. The central table illuminated with a three-dimensional model of the selenary system. 3 of your Earth months ago, our Deep Space Observatory detected an anomaly, what appeared to be a miniature black hole drifting toward our system. Our scientists attempted to deflect its course using gravitational repulsors, but the selenary scientist, the Sci-Fi Laura continued, instead of responding normally, the anomaly changed. It began to expand exponentially, developing properties inconsistent with known physics. When it reached our planet, it began consuming matter, growing larger with each passing day. Dr. Wei leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the simulation. This isn't a natural phenomenon. The behavior suggests some kind of artificial manipulation of space-time. Our conclusion as well, the selenary scientist agreed. But our technology is based on harmony and balance. We lack the means to counter something so fundamentally chaotic. And that's why you need Deathworlders, Security Chief Okafor said, understanding dawning. You need people evolved to counter chaos with chaos. Precisely, Ilara confirmed. Your species developed on a planet of extremes. Your bodies are engineered by evolution to endure conditions that would destroy us. Your minds are adapted to find solutions amid chaos. Captain Rice turned to Dr. Wei. How much time do we have? The physicist studied the data streaming across his tablet. At the current rate of expansion, the void will reach this city in approximately 7 Earth days. Then we'd better get to work, Rice said. The next 2 days passed in a flurry of activity. The human fleet established orbit around the selenary homeworld, while scientific teams worked around the clock, studying the anomaly from every possible angle. Chief Engineer Tanaka set up a temporary lab in the Selenary Science Facility, where Dr. Wei's team worked side by side with the alien scientists. Their technology is incredible, Tanaka marveled. Examining a selenary energy converter, they've mastered quantum harmonics in ways we've only theorized about. Yet they can't solve this problem, Dr. Wei replied, his expression grave. Because they've evolved without conflict, they've developed technology that works with nature, not against it. But this void isn't natural. It's an aberration. And sometimes, Captain Rice said from the doorway, you need to fight fire with fire. She stepped into the lab. What have you got for me? Dr. Wei activated a holographic display. We believe the void is an artificially created micro-singularity that's been programmed to consume matter and convert it into dark energy. The more it consumes, the faster it grows. Can we stop it? Rice asked. Not with the Selenary's harmonic technology, Wei explained. But I've been thinking about a more human approach. I'm listening. Nuclear fusion, Wei said simply. Old-fashioned, primitive, by their standards, but powerful. If we can generate a precisely calibrated fusion reaction at the edge of the anomaly, we might be able to disrupt the programming that's controlling it. You want to nuke a black hole? Security Chief Okafor asked incredulously. Not exactly, Wei corrected. We want to create a counterfrequency using the electromagnetic pulse from a fusion reaction. It's like using a sledgehammer instead of a scalpel, but sometimes that's what you need. Captain Rice nodded. Do it. Use whatever resources you need. The human team worked through the night, converting one of the science vessels into a delivery mechanism for their improvised solution. The Selenary watched in amazement as the humans worked with a speed and determination that seemed almost reckless to their cautious minds. Your people take such risks, High Counselor Ilara observed as she stood beside Captain Rice, watching the preparations. You modify complex technology without simulation cycles. You make decisions in moments that we would debate for days. On Earth, Rice explained, hesitation often means death. We've learned to act decisively because our world rarely gives us the luxury of perfect certainty. The next morning, the human fleet moved into position. The modified science vessel, piloted remotely, approached the edge of the void. On the bridge of the Tenacity, Captain Rice watched the telemetry with Dr. Wei and her senior staff. Delivery vehicle in position, reported Commander Jackson. Ready to initiate the sequence. Proceed, ordered Rice. For a moment, it seemed to work. The fusion device detonated exactly as planned, creating a brilliant flash of energy at the boundary of the darkness. The void's expansion slowed, then momentarily reversed. But their success was short-lived. Within minutes, the anomaly had adapted, absorbing the energy from the explosion and growing even faster than before. "It's accelerating," Dr. Wei exclaimed, alarm evident in his voice. "The void is now consuming matter at twice the previous rate. We've made it worse." Worse still, the backlash from the failed attempt sent a gravitational wave rippling through the system. One of the human frigates, positioned too close to the anomaly, was caught in the wave. The ship's hull buckled under the immense pressure before the emergency transporters could evacuate all personnel. 43 human lives were lost in an instant. The mood in the command center was somber as Captain Rice faced the reality of their failure. The Selenary officials spoke in hushed tones, their luminescence dimmed in what seemed to be their expression of mourning. "We should evacuate the planet," Commander Jackson suggested quietly. "We can't save their world, but we might save some of the Selenary. Our ships don't have the capacity to evacuate an entire civilization," Rice countered. "And where would we take them? Their physiology is adapted to this specific environment." "Then we failed," one of the Selenary officials said, defeat evident in their melodic voice. Captain Rice stood abruptly. "No, we haven't failed until we stop trying." She walked to the center of the command room, her presence drawing all eyes. "Throughout human history, our greatest achievements have come not from our first attempts, but from our refusal to accept failure. When we fall, we get back up. When one approach fails, we try another. This is the gift of evolution on a death world, persistence in the face of impossible odds." She turned to Dr. Wei. "The fusion attempt gave us valuable data. The void responded to our intervention, which means it can be affected. We just need to approach it differently." Wei nodded slowly, his mind already racing with new possibilities. It absorbed the energy we threw at it. But what if instead of trying to destroy it, we tried to contain it? "Like a prison," Engineer Tanaka said, catching on. "We could use modified gravity generators to create a containment field. We'd need to surround it completely," Wei added, excitement building in his voice. "A sphere of overlapping gravitational fields, calibrated to prevent expansion rather than force contraction." "How many generators would we need?" Rice asked. "At least 12, positioned in a perfect sphere around the anomaly," Wei calculated. "And they'd need to be synchronized to the microsecond." "Can we do it?" Rice asked, looking at her team. "With the right modifications to our remaining ship's gravity systems." "Yes," Tanaka confirmed. "But someone would need to manually position and activate each generator. The radiation from the void would fry any remote systems. So it's a suicide mission," Security Chief Okafor said flatly. Captain Rice's expression hardened. "Not necessarily. We have the environmental suits from the mining operation on Titan. They're designed to withstand extreme radiation for short periods." "Short periods being the operative phrase," Dr. Chen pointed out. "Even with those suits, the exposure time would be dangerous," Rice finished. "I know. That's why I'll be leading the team myself." Despite protests from her senior staff, Captain Rice's decision was final. 12 volunteers were selected from across the fleet, each chosen for their specialized skills, and each fully aware of the risks. The Selenary provided what assistance they could, modifying the human environmental suits with their advanced materials to provide additional protection. As the teams prepared for deployment, High Counselor Ilara approached Captain Rice. "Your willingness to sacrifice for a species not your own. It is something our people will never forget." "We're not planning on sacrifice," Rice replied with a determined smile. "We're planning on success." 24 hours later, 12 shuttles approached the edge of the void, each carrying a modified gravity generator and its human operator. Captain Rice led from the front, her shuttle taking position at what they had designated as the North Pole of their containment sphere. Remember your training, she broadcast to her team. Deploy your generator, activate the sequence, and get out. Speed is safety. One by one, the teams moved into position. The void seemed to pulse and shift as if sensing their approach, its edges reaching out like tentacles of absolute darkness. The first 4 generators deployed without incident, their gravitational fields shimmering into existence like bubbles of distorted space. But as the 5th team approached, the void lashed out. A tendril of darkness enveloped their shuttle before they could react. In an instant, both the craft and its occupants were gone, consumed without a trace. "Stay focused," Captain Rice commanded, her voice steady despite the loss. "Continue deployment." The remaining teams pressed on, each successfully placing their generators despite the increasing activity from the void. As Rice deployed the final generator, her suit's radiation alarm blared in warning. She had seconds, not minutes, to retreat. With the last generator in place, she activated the synchronization sequence and pushed off from the platform, propelling herself back toward her shuttle. The darkness reached for her, closing the distance with frightening speed. "Captain," Engineer Tanaka's voice crackled through the comm. "Your shuttle's not going to make it. Divert to coordinates 227 to 184,055. Now." Without hesitation, Rice changed course, trusting her engineer implicitly. As she cleared the immediate danger zone, she saw what Tanaka had spotted. One of the combat frigates had moved dangerously close, extending its emergency retrieval arm. The magnetic grapple caught her suit, pulling her rapidly toward safety as the containment field fully activated behind her. 11 overlapping gravitational fields locked into place, creating a perfect prison around the void. For several tense moments, nothing seemed to happen. Then, gradually, the darkness began to contract, folding in upon itself like a dying star. "It's working," Dr. Wei exclaimed from the tenacity. "The containment field is forcing the programming to collapse." Hours later, what had once been a planet-threatening anomaly had been reduced to a harmless pinpoint of darkness, still contained within the human-made gravitational prison. The Selenary scientists confirmed that the void was no longer expanding or consuming matter. In the Great Hall of the Selenary capital, a ceremony unlike any in their history took place. The human crew stood before the assembled Selenary leadership, their death-world physiology standing in stark contrast to the delicate beings they had saved. High Counselor Ilara's voice resonated through the crystal chamber. "For generations, the Selenary have observed the cosmos, believing that harmony and caution were the highest virtues. Today, we have learned that sometimes salvation comes from those forged in fire and chaos." She approached Captain Rice, presenting her with a luminescent crystal that seemed to capture the light of their world within its structure. "With this, we formally request alliance with Earth and its Deathworlders. The galaxy has much to learn from those who confront the impossible without hesitation." Captain Rice accepted the crystal with a smile. "On behalf of Earth, we accept your friendship. Perhaps the greatest strength lies not in being shaped by a gentle world or a harsh one, but in the joining of different perspectives." As the human fleet prepared for the long journey home, they carried with them not just the gratitude of an alien civilization, but the beginning of humanity's first true interstellar alliance. Word had already spread through the galactic concord. The Deathworlders of Earth had accomplished what no other species dared attempt. In the observation lounge of the Tenacity, Captain Rice stood with Dr. Chen, watching as the Selenary world grew smaller behind them. "Do you think the other species will look at us differently now?" Dr. Chen asked. "I'm counting on it," Rice replied with a satisfied smile. "We've shown the galaxy that being from a death world isn't just about surviving hardship. It's about facing the impossible and finding a way through. That's what humans do best." The Tenacity's engines flared brightly as it accelerated toward Earth, leaving behind a changed corner of the galaxy, one where the name Deathworlder was no longer whispered with fear, but spoken with respect.